Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to the part of you that's been silently crying out for something more. The part that knows you were meant for greatness, but feels weighed down, trapped, not by change you can see, but by invisible forces that shape every step you take. You see, life doesn't just come at you with pain. It comes with distractions, with whispers, with memories, and before you know it, you're not living your own life anymore. You're surviving inside a story that was never meant to define you. So today I need your full attention because this moment right here, this could be the spark that shifts your direction, for far too many people are giving their power away to a past they can't change, to voices that never believed in them, to fears that were never real to begin with, to the conditions around them instead of the fire within them, and worst of all, to the destructive conversations they have in the quiet corners of their own minds. This isn't about motivation. This is about liberation, about pulling back the curtain and showing you what's been holding you hostage, and more importantly, how to break free. You are not your pain. You are not their opinion. You are not your fear. You are not your circumstances. And you are definitely not the lies you tell yourself. You are power. You are potential. You are purpose. But to step into it, you've got to reclaim your mind. You've got to fight for your freedom, and it starts right now. So stand up inside yourself. Listen with your heart wide open, because this is your week out call, and your life will never be the same. Number one, your past. Your past is not your prison. It may have shaped you, but it does not define you. Too many people are living in invisible chains, bound by moments that are long gone. They wake up each morning with regret in their hearts, shame in their bones, and guilt whispering lies into their ears. But let me tell you this with every ounce of truth in me. Your past happened for you, not to you. Every heartbreak, every failure, every tear that rolled down your cheek in silence, it all had a purpose. You don't have to be proud of everything you've done, but you can still be proud of how far you've come, because surviving what tried to destroy you is not weakness, it's strength. And the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still trying, that means you've got a chance to rewrite the narrative. Most people think healing means forgetting. It doesn't. Healing means remembering without reliving. It means staring down those memories that once had power over you and saying, "You no longer own me." Some of you are trapped in yesterday because you keep replaying the same moment over and over in your mind like a broken record. That mistake you made, it was a chapter, not the whole story. That relationship that ended, it wasn't the end of your life. It was the beginning of discovering your worth. When you constantly drag the weight of your past into today, you rob yourself of the strength that's meant for this moment. You are not your failures. You are not your wounds. You are what you choose to become next. You've got to understand that growth means change, and change means letting go. Not forgetting, not pretending it never happened, but releasing the power it once had over you. Some people spend their whole lives building walls around old pain, protecting it, feeding it, keeping it alive like some sacred monument. But it's not sacred, it's stagnant. The more you worship your wounds, the longer you bleed. You were never meant to be defined by what broke you. You were meant to be refined by it. The fire that burned you didn't come to consume you, it came to shape you. But only if you stop sitting in the ashes and start rising from them. You've got to make peace with your past, not pitch a tent in it. Sometimes we hold on to pain because we think it gives us identity. We say, "I'm this way because of what they did to me." But the truth is, if they had the power to change you, then you have the power to change again. The world will try to convince you that your past is permanent, but there's nothing permanent about a decision you haven't made yet. Who you were is only one version of you. There's a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of you waiting to be revealed. But you have to stop rehearsing old pain and start rewriting new purpose. You can't change what happened, but you can change what happens next. And that change begins with the choice to stop letting your past speak louder than your potential. Let me be real with you. Some of the worst things you've gone through are also the very things that gave you your greatest strength. That betrayal taught you boundaries. That failure taught you resilience. That rejection taught you self-respect. You didn't just survive the storm, you became the storm. But as long as you keep identifying with the wounds instead of the wisdom they brought, you'll stay stuck in who you used to be. You've got to forgive the old you. Forgive yourself for not knowing better. Forgive yourself for accepting less. Forgive yourself for staying too long, for settling too much, for shrinking too small. Your past doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be processed. There are people walking around with smiles on their faces and battles in their minds, haunted by moments they can't outrun. But healing doesn't come when you ignore the past. It comes when you confront it, when you stare that thing in the face and say, "You no longer control me." Don't numb it, don't bury it, don't pretend it didn't hurt. Honor the pain by learning from it, by rising above it, by refusing to let it become your ceiling. You can turn your pain into power, your wounds into wisdom, your scars into stories that set others free. But you've got to stop hiding behind the version of you that broke and start becoming the version that built. What you've been through is part of your journey, but it is not the destination. Some people got so used to being hurt that they don't know what to do when peace comes. They sabotage happiness because pain became familiar. But just because dysfunction is what you knew, doesn't mean it's what you deserve. You've got to retrain your mind to believe you're worthy of a new beginning, that you deserve love that doesn't hurt, that you deserve success that doesn't scare you, that you deserve joy that doesn't feel guilty. Your past might have shaped you, but it doesn't get to steer you anymore. You've got a new road to walk, and it's paved with the strength you earned through survival. It's time to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" start asking, "What did this teach me?" Because buried in that heartbreak is a lesson about worth. Buried in that mistake is a truth about growth. Buried in that failure is a seed of strength just waiting for you to water it. You've got to become a student of your own life. Stop cursing the pain and start learning from it. There's power in being broken, not because breaking is good, but because it reveals what's real. It shows you what's solid, what's fake, what's necessary, and what's got to go. That's wisdom you earn. That's not something life gives you for free. Some of you need to stop trying to erase the past and start transforming it. You can't change the facts, but you can change the meaning. You can choose to look at your scars not as signs of weakness, but as reminders that you were stronger than whatever tried to destroy you. You were built to overcome. But if you keep defining yourself by what you lost, you'll never discover what you're capable of gaining. You are not broken, you are becoming. You're becoming someone who can rise above trauma, who can outgrow pain, who can live with the memory but not be bound by the weight of it. You owe it to yourself to let go, not because the past deserves it, but because you people will try to remind you of who you used to be. Don't fall for it. Don't shrink back into an identity you've already outgrown. Don't argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've already been through enough battles. Don't fight the ones that try to drag you backward. You don't need to defend your healing. You don't need to explain your growth. Some people only knew the old you and they won't recognize the new one. And that's okay because this journey is yours. This story is sacred, and you don't need anyone's permission to rewrite it. You are not stuck. You are not hopeless. You are not broken beyond repair. You are in transition. You are in transformation. And every tear you cried, every prayer you whispered in the dark, every time you picked yourself back up when no one saw, it mattered. You matter. Your past may be a part of your journey, but it does not get the final say. You do. So say this to yourself and say it like you believe it. I am not my past. I am not my pain. I am not my lowest moment. I am who I decide to become, and I decide to be free. Number 2, other people's opinions. There comes a time in life when you've got to ask yourself a hard question. Whose voice is guiding your steps? Because if the answer isn't yours, then maybe, just maybe, you've been living someone else's life. See, too many people spend their entire lives trying to meet expectations they never agreed to, trying to impress people who don't even know themselves. They wear clothes they don't like, pursue dreams that aren't theirs, smile when they want to scream, all to gain the approval of a crowd that doesn't even clap when they win. That's no way to live. That's a slow death disguised as acceptance. And it starts when you give someone else the pin to write your story. But today, right now, you take that pin back. People will have opinions about you, whether you succeed or fail, whether you rise or fall, whether you speak up or stay silent. You can be the most careful, kind, and quiet person on earth, and someone will still find a reason to criticize you. So stop trying to win a game that's rigged, because no matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. You cannot control how they see you. When you stop giving weight to opinions that don't build you, you start to feel light again, free again, whole again. Your worth was never meant to be determined by someone who doesn't know your heart, your pain, your fight. You've walked through storms they've never seen. Don't let them define your sunlight. Let's get one thing straight. Their opinion is not your truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your journey. You don't have to justify your healing, your change, your peace. You don't need permission to grow, and you sure don't need validation to exist. The world will try to fit you into a box. Too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, too lazy, too strong, too sensitive. But you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. And that makes people uncomfortable. You want to know why some folks criticize you? Because your freedom reminds them of their chains. Your courage triggers their fear. Your growth exposes their stagnation. But that's not your problem. That's their prison. Don't let them lock you in it. When you live for applause, you'll die in silence. The moment the claps stop, your value crumbles. If your identity was built on being accepted, but if your identity is built on purpose, on calling, on truth, then you can walk alone and still feel whole. You can be misunderstood and still be at peace. You can be doubted and still rise. There's power in knowing who you are without needing others to agree. That's real confidence, not arrogance, not pride, but rooted identity. That deep knowing that says, even if you don't see it yet, I was born for more. That's the kind of quiet strength no opinion can shake. Think about how many dreams have died because someone said, that's impossible. How many people gave up before they even started because somebody laughed, doubted, mocked, or walked away? And the saddest part, those voices weren't even from people who had done what you were trying to do. They were just loud. But being loud doesn't mean being right. And being many doesn't mean being true. Don't let the noise distract you from the voice inside you, the one whispering, keep going. Because deep down, you already know who you are. You just have to get quiet enough to hear it. You were not created to be liked by everyone. You were created to live a life that means something, a life that impacts, transforms, awakens. But you can't do that if you're constantly shrinking to make others comfortable. You can't live in purpose. If you're drowning in opinions, people will project their fears onto your dreams, their limits onto your vision, their insecurities onto your confidence. But projection is not prophecy. Just because they couldn't doesn't mean you won't. Just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not real. You've got to learn how to walk with vision even when you're surrounded by the blind. And you know what else? Some people liked the broken version of you better. They liked when you were quiet, insecure, dependent, because your weakness made them feel strong. But now that you've started healing, growing, evolving, they feel threatened. That's not your cue to stop. That's your confirmation to keep going. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them gossip. That's not your business. Your business is to rise. Your business is to walk in purpose. Your business is to honor the calling placed inside you. Even if no one claps, especially if no one claps, let go of the need to be understood. That desire will drain you because sometimes people misunderstand you on purpose just to feel superior. And sometimes they misunderstand you by accident because they're seeing you through the lens of their own pain. By the way, it's not your job to shrink yourself for clarity. It's your job to shine, to stand tall in your truth, to keep your soul intact. You weren't born to be someone else's version of enough. You were born to be your full, authentic self. Loud, quiet, wild, soft, ambitious, peaceful, all of it. The whole of you is valid, not just the parts they approve. If you're constantly seeking approval, you're always performing. And performance is exhausting. You start editing your personality, filtering your thoughts, censoring your dreams. Before long, you don't even recognize yourself. You lose your fire, your voice, your truth. That's the price of people-pleasing, and it's never worth it. Real peace comes when you can sit with yourself alone and still feel whole. When your worth isn't on a scoreboard and your value isn't based on likes, applause, or followers. It's internal, unshakable, rooted in who you are, not who they want you to be. The moment you stop living for them is the moment you start living for real. That's when you take risks that make your heart race. That's when you say no without guilt and yes without fear. That's when you walk into rooms and don't shrink. You speak your truth and don't tremble. That's when you look in the mirror and finally see someone worth loving, not because others say it, but because you do. You've got to build your life on that kind of foundation, one that can't be knocked down by whispers or disapproval, because your soul is too sacred to be up for vote. Let people talk, let them criticize, let them misunderstand. That's not your fight. Your fight is within. It's the battle to stay true in a world that profits off your doubt. It's the battle to be whole in a society that only values fragments. You are not here to meet their standards. You are here to live in your fullness. So don't give small minds big power. Don't let temporary voices cause permanent damage. Walk boldly, speak freely, love deeply, and live truthfully. Because in the end, the loudest opinion you'll ever hear is the one in your own heart. Make sure it's telling the truth. Make sure it's telling your truth. It's time to decide. You will not subject yourself to anything else's truth. Number 3, fear is a silent thief. It doesn't break into your life screaming and shouting. It creeps in quietly, softly, whispering lies that sound like truth. It tells you you're not good enough. You'll fail again. They'll laugh at you. You're too late. And before you know it, you're standing still while life keeps moving. Fear has stopped more dreams than failure ever has. Because failure at least happens after you try. Fear convinces you not to try at all. It keeps you safe in your comfort zone. But that comfort turns into a cage, and that cage becomes a coffin for your purpose. But here's the truth. Fear only has the power you give it. It grows in silence. It strengthens in hiding. But when you confront it, when you look fear in the eye and move anyway, it starts to shrink. It starts to fall apart. And that's when freedom begins. Most of us think bravery means the absence of fear. But real courage is moving forward, even when fear is screaming in your ear. Every great person you admire, they were afraid too. Every story of greatness, every breakthrough, every hero's journey, it all started with fear. The difference is, they didn't let fear be the final voice. They didn't let it sit in the driver's seat. You don't have to feel ready to be ready. You don't have to be fearless to be faithful. You just need to believe that there's something greater on the other side of fear, because fear is loudest right before the breakthrough, right before the blessing. So if you feel afraid, that's not a sign to stop. It's a sign to go forward. You're closer than you think. Fear will disguise itself as logic. It'll wear a suit and carry a clipboard. It'll tell you this just isn't the right time, or be realistic, or what if it all goes wrong. It'll sound like wisdom, but it's still fear. And the longer you listen, the more it talks you out of your destiny. The more it convinces you to settle, shrink, play small. But you weren't created for small. There's nothing realistic about purpose. There's nothing ordinary about calling. And there's nothing wise about hiding your gift, because someone might not understand it. Fear wants you to believe that safety is survival. But truth is, your soul wasn't made for safety. It was made for stretching, for soaring, for more. There's a version of you that exists on the other side of fear. A version that's louder, bolder, wiser, freer. But you'll never meet them if you keep running. You'll never know what's possible if you keep standing on the edge, staring at the water, wondering what it would feel like to fly. At some point, you've got to leap. Not because you're sure you won't fall, but because you're tired of staying stuck. You've got to leap, not because you know the whole plan, but because you trust the one who gave you the vision. You've got to leap because staying where you are is slowly killing what's inside you. And that's not life. That's existing. You were meant for more than that. Fear has a way of turning temporary pain into permanent regret. Think about that. The pain of trying and failing fades, But the regret of never trying, that stays. That wakes you up in the middle of the night wondering, what if I had just gone for it? That gnaws at your soul when you see someone else living the life you wanted, knowing the only difference between them and you wasn't talent, wasn't timing, it was courage, it was action. It was the decision to move through fear instead of bow to it. Don't let fear write your story. Don't give it that power. This is your life, and you only get one shot at it. Live it boldly. You have to stop waiting for fear to leave before you act. It doesn't work like that. Fear leaves because you act. Fear flees when you move. It only has power in pause. But when you step forward, even if you're shaking, something starts to shift. Heaven starts to notice. Your faith starts to grow. Your vision starts to stretch, and fear starts to fall. Every time you do the thing you were scared of doing, you collect strength. You build muscle. You grow roots, and those roots will anchor you when storms come. Because the truth is, life isn't about avoiding fear. It's about mastering it. It's about saying, I feel it, but it doesn't own me. I hear it, but it doesn't guide me. I acknowledge it, but I'm not ruled by it. Let's get real for a moment. Most of the things you fear will never even happen. We suffer more in our minds than we ever do in reality. Fear will build mountains out of molehills, monsters out of shadows. It exaggerates, it dramatizes, it plays on your imagination. And the more you feed it, the more it feeds on you. But the opposite is also true. When you start feeding your faith, when you focus on what's possible instead of what's painful, fear starts to fade. You can be full of fear and full of purpose at the same time. One has to move. And you get to choose which one. Fear will tell you, what if you fail? But what if you fly? What if this time it works? What if this risk opens a door you never dreamed possible? What if you finally become the person you were created to be? Every blessing on the other side of fear begins with that first step. And that step may be messy. You might stumble. You might fall, but you'll get back up. And the next step will be stronger. The next one will be lighter. And before you know it, fear will be behind you, wondering how it ever had control of you in the first place. That's the power of movement. That's the power of momentum. It changes everything. Fear thrives in isolation. That's why it tells you to hide. That's why it wants you to think you're alone, like no one else is struggling, like everyone else has it figured out but you. But that's a lie. Everyone feels fear, even the strongest, even the most successful. The difference is some people have learned how to walk with it. They've learned how to keep moving, even with their knees knocking and their voice trembling. You are not weak for feeling afraid. You're human, but you are powerful when you choose to rise anyway. You are unstoppable when you choose to keep going anyway. That's real strength. Your fear may be loud, but your purpose is louder. Your fear may be convincing, but your calling is stronger. You didn't come this far just to let fear steal the rest of your story. You didn't fight through all that pain just to give up now. Every scar, every tear, every heartbreak, it was preparing you for this moment. Don't let fear stop you at the doorway of destiny. Don't let it block your blessing. You have something the world needs. And the enemy of your soul knows it. That's why fear comes so strong, because it's trying to keep you small. But you were never meant to be small. You were born to rise. So this is your moment, your line in the sand, your decision point. Fear may knock, but you don't have to answer. Fear may roar, but you don't have to listen. Instead, choose faith, choose boldness, choose the life you know you were meant to live. It won't be easy, it won't be perfect, but it will be real. It will be yours. And one day when you look back, you'll be proud. Not because you were never afraid, but because you didn't let fear. You stood, you walked, you moved, and in doing so you became everything you were created to be. Number 4, your circumstances. Your circumstances are not your sentence. They are not the final word on your future. They are not the definition of your destiny. I know it might not feel like that right now. Maybe you're surrounded by struggle. Maybe every door you've knocked on has slammed shut. Maybe you're waking up to the same battles every day, wondering when it's going to change. But hear me when I say this. Your current condition is not your permanent conclusion. Just because you were born in the fire doesn't mean you were made to burn. Some of the most powerful people on this planet came out of broken homes, empty pockets, and dark valleys, but they didn't let their circumstances choke their vision. They didn't let it bury their belief. They looked at what was around them and said, "This may be where I start, but it's not where I finish." Life can be unfair. It can deal you a rough hand. Maybe you didn't ask for what you're going through. Maybe the weight you're carrying was passed down to you, forced on you, left at your feet by people who were supposed to love you. But even in the storm, you still have power. The power to respond, the power to rise, the power to fight back. Your circumstances might shape your environment, but they don't own your mind. They don't own your spirit. You have something stronger inside of you than anything trying to hold you back. And if you stop letting your surroundings dictate your spirit, you'll start seeing doors open that fear said would stay closed forever. Circumstances test you. They don't define you. The truth is, we all go through things we don't deserve, but that doesn't mean we stop. That doesn't mean we shrink. The danger is when we let temporary pain become a permanent identity. When you start saying, "This is just how my life is. I'll never get out of this. People like me don't win." You're letting your situation shrink your soul. But listen to me. You are not your struggle. You are not your bank account. You are not your trauma. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your mistakes. You are not the storm you're walking through. You are the strength rising inside of it. And every day that you choose to believe that truth, you take another step away from limitation and another step toward your liberation. Sometimes the enemy of your destiny is comfort and chaos. You've been in a tough place for so long that it started to feel like home. Struggle became normal. Pain became routine. And even when a door opens, fear convinces you to stay in the familiar. But just because dysfunction is familiar doesn't mean it's right. Just because you've gotten used to surviving doesn't mean you weren't meant to thrive. It's time to break that agreement. You do not belong to the chaos. You are not married to the mess. You don't owe your struggle loyalty. You owe yourself a chance to see what life looks like when you stop settling for what you've always seen. Let's talk about the lie that says you can't change until your circumstances change. That is false. Transformation starts inside. It starts when you change your thinking. When you stop seeing your environment as your enemy and start using it as fuel. When you stop waiting for the rain to stop and start dancing in it. You don't need a new city to get a new mindset. You don't need a new job to start believing in your value. You don't need a new relationship to start walking in love. The shift begins when you decide, I am more than this moment. I am bigger than this battle. I am stronger than what's surrounding me. And when that decision becomes a declaration, change starts to happen. Your circumstances may explain where you are, but they don't get to dictate where you're going. Think about the most beautiful things in nature. The diamond, the pearl, the butterfly. All of them were formed under pressure, through struggle in darkness. And so are you. Maybe your back is against the wall. Maybe life has you cornered, but don't let that corner become a coffin. Sometimes the tightest spaces create the strongest warriors. Sometimes the darkness is where the light inside of you finally gets loud. Don't curse your process. Embrace it. Let it teach you. Let it mold you. Because when you come out on the other side, you won't just be free, you'll be forged. It's easy to believe that life would be better if things around you changed. But that's not always true. Because if you get everything you wanted on the outside, but you're still broken on the inside, you'll sabotage your own blessing. So don't wait for circumstances to change to become who you're meant to be. Start now. Start in the storm. Start in the mess. Start in the pain. Because if you can rise in the fire, you'll be unstoppable in the peace. If you can believe in yourself when everything's fallen apart, imagine what you become when everything lines up. That kind of faith can't be shaken. That kind of strength can't be bought. It's earned, it's built, and you're building it right now. When you feel stuck in your circumstances, I want you to remember, some things in life are not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. You can't change where you came from, but you can change where you're going. You can't undo what was done to you, but you can decide what it means going forward. You can rewrite the story. starting today. You don't have to carry the weight of yesterday into tomorrow. You don't have to let your environment determine your energy. You get to take the pen. You get to choose the plot. And every choice you make to rise, to heal, to grow, it changes everything. It shifts the atmosphere. Sometimes the only thing that keeps you going is the belief that one day all of this will mean something, that the pain will have purpose, that the mountain wasn't there to stop you, but to show you how high you could climb, that the valley wasn't there to bury you, but to teach you how to grow. Your circumstances are shaping you, but they are not stopping you unless you let them, unless you decide this is too much. I'll just stay here. But I know you're better than that. I know there's a fire inside of you that refuses to quit. And that fire will lead you out. Your surroundings might not be ideal. You may not have all the resources you want. You may not have the support you deserve, but you have something more powerful, the will to rise. And willpower, when fueled by faith, can break through any wall. The dream doesn't die in the dirt, it grows there. The calling doesn't fade in the chaos, it gets clearer. And if you keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it looks hopeless, you will break through. You will rise. And the world will look back one day and say that person had every reason to give up, and they didn't. So don't let your current struggle steal your future strength. Don't let your environment bully your evolution. You may be in the fire now, but you're being refined. You may be in the storm now, but you're being strengthened. You may feel like the walls are closing in, but maybe, just maybe, they're pushing you toward the door. That door of freedom, that door of power, that door of purpose. Don't let your circumstances control you. Let them challenge you. Let them refine you. Let them teach you to lean harder on your faith. Dig deeper into your soul and rise higher than you ever imagined. Number 5, negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is the quietest killer of dreams. It doesn't come crashing in like a storm. It whispers. It creeps. It settles into your thoughts like a slow poison, convincing you little by little that you're not enough, that you'll never make it, that you're a mistake instead of a miracle. And here's the painful truth. Most of us don't even notice when it begins. We just start agreeing. We start living less, doing less, becoming less, because that voice in our head tells us, don't even try. And after hearing that lie long enough, we start treating it like the truth. But you are not what that voice says. You are not your doubts. You are not your insecurities. You are not your scars. That voice, that's fear dressed up as logic. That's pain pretending to be wisdom, and it's time to silence it. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, a part of your light dims. Every time you think I'll never succeed, you hand over your power. The most dangerous prison is the one we build in our own mind. And I've seen people with all the talent in the world stay stuck, paralyzed by the words they speak to themselves. You've got to understand your mind is the battlefield, and the enemy doesn't need to defeat you in the real world if he can convince you to defeat yourself in your thoughts. That's why you must protect your inner dialogue. The way you talk to yourself when no one's listening, that's what determines whether you'll rise or stay buried. You might think it's just the truth. I really don't have what it takes. But that's not truth. That's programming. That's conditioning. Somewhere along the way, someone planted a seed of doubt. Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, a broken friend, or a cruel world, and that seed grew into your inner voice. But just because it grew doesn't mean it's right. Just because it's been there a long time doesn't mean it deserves to stay. You can uproot it. You can rewire your thinking. You can speak life over yourself instead of death. The truth is, every word you think is shaping your reality. So ask yourself, am I building myself up or tearing myself down? There is nothing noble about being cruel to yourself. You don't earn strength by calling yourself weak. You don't gain wisdom by labeling yourself a fool. And you definitely don't walk into your purpose by telling yourself you're worthless. No, that's not discipline. That's destruction. You wouldn't speak to your child the way you speak to yourself. You wouldn't talk to your best friend that way. So why is it okay to do it to the one person you're with every moment of your life? When you change the way you speak to yourself, you change the way you move through the world. You stop walking in shame and start walking in power. I know life can break you. I know experiences can bruise your confidence, but healing starts when you stop repeating the language of your pain and start declaring the language of your potential. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to let what's broken in you become your identity. You can feel pain and still speak strength. You can be struggling and still say, I'm learning. That's not denial, that's defiance. That's you refusing to be a victim of your own voice. And when you get to that place where your self-talk becomes your support instead of your sabotage, you start unlocking a power you didn't know you had. The words you say to yourself in the dark are the ones that will define you in the light. You've got to become your own advocate, your own encourager, your own voice of truth. Because when the world turns its back, when friends don't understand, when things fall apart, you're still with you. And if your internal voice is filled with criticism, how will you ever find peace? If every time you fall, you shame yourself instead of lifting yourself up, how will you ever rock? You got to stop tearing yourself apart for being human. You got to start loving yourself through the process. You may have messed up. You may have failed. You may have hurt people or made choices you regret. But guess what? You're still here. You're still breathing. And that means redemption is still on the table. That means grace is still available. That means purpose is still alive. Your mistakes are a chapter. They're not the whole story. But if you keep replaying them in your head like a broken record, you'll stay stuck in shame instead of stepping into growth. So speak forgiveness over yourself. Speak mercy, speak hope, because what you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes who you are. You can't change your life until you change your language. If every day you tell yourself you're tired, you'll feel more exhausted. If every day you tell yourself you're worthless, you'll stop even trying. But if you begin every day speaking truth over yourself, even when you don't feel it, you'll start to change. You'll start to believe. It's not magic, it's science. It's spiritual. It's so deep. Your words are seeds, and whatever you water will grow. So stop watering the weeds of your past and start planting the garden of your future. Tell yourself, I am capable. I am worthy. I am powerful. I am learning. I am rising. And say it like your life depends on it, because it does. There will be days when the old voice creeps back in, when fear knocks on your door, when the echoes of your past mistakes scream louder than your faith. On those days, you fight back. You don't just let the thoughts run wild. You challenge them. You stop and say, no, that's not who I am anymore. That's not my truth. And maybe you'll have to do that 100 times a day, but every time you do, you're taking your mind back, you're taking your power back. You're becoming the author of your own narrative. And that is where freedom begins. Not when life is perfect, but when your thoughts are aligned with truth. Some of the strongest people you admire, they don't live without fear. They don't walk without struggle. They've just mastered the art of talking to themselves with love and authority. They've learned how to coach themselves through pain instead of criticizing themselves through it. They've trained their minds to serve their soul, not sabotage it. And you can too. You don't need a new life. You need a new language. You don't need a perfect past. You need a powerful perspective. And that starts with every word you choose to believe and repeat. So today I'm asking you to make a choice. Choose to stop agreeing with the lies. Choose to break the cycle. Choose to talk to yourself like someone worth fighting for, because you are. Every great breakthrough starts with a voice that says, I can. Every revolution begins with a whisper of, I will. And your voice, yes, yours, has the power to change everything. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not too weak. You are not too far gone. You are not your past. You are not your failures. You are a masterpiece in motion. And your self-talk is the paintbrush. Speak life. Speak truth. Speak victory. Speak as if your future is listening, because it is. Now take a breath. Let it sink in. Everything we've walked through together wasn't just a list of ideas. It was a mirror. A mirror held up to show you what's been silently running your life. And maybe for the first time you saw it clearly. The truth is, the battle has never been out there. It's always been within. The war is fought in the silence of your thoughts, in the memories you revisit, in the fears you feed, in the people you empower to shrink your spirit and in the story you keep telling yourself every single day. But hear me, just because something has been controlling you doesn't mean it has to keep doing it. You are not powerless. You are not weak. You are not a victim of your past, your environment, your emotions, or the noise around you. You have a voice and it matters. You have a vision and it's real. You have a future and it's worth fighting for. The moment you stop handing the keys of your life over to things that don't deserve to drive you, everything changes. When you silence the noise of others, when you stare down your fear, when you rise above your circumstances, when you rewrite the narrative inside your own head, that's when the shift begins. That's when you stop surviving and start living. And listen, this doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you'll be stronger. It means you'll show up differently. It means you'll stop giving away your peace like it costs nothing. It means you'll recognize your worth, your resilience, your divine design. Because it's not about perfection, it's about progression. It's not about avoiding pain, it's about learning how to stand tall in the storm and still move forward with grace and grit. From this moment on, choose freedom. Not the kind the world gives, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you will no longer tolerate. Choose to live intentionally. Choose to forgive what's behind you, to silence what doesn't serve you, and to walk boldly toward what sets your soul on fire. Don't let fear speak louder than your faith. Don't let opinions drown out your inner wisdom. Don't let your situation convince you that your destiny is delayed. And above all, never let that inner critic win the conversation, because the world needs what you carry.